Folks, if you had any doubt that white supremacy was alive, well, and thriving in America, what's going on in Charlottesville, Virginia, should put any doubt in your mind to rest. This whole situation started because of the, let's call it progressive, but right-thinking city council decided to remove a statue of Robert E. Lee from the University of Virginia campus. And when the white supremacists got wind of this one, these fools went crazy. First, several weeks ago, they filed a lawsuit in order to prevent the statue from being removed. Then they obtained a permit, and how they got that permit, well, I have an idea, but I'll keep that to myself. They got a permit to march in the park where the statue is located. They decided to bus in, and I do mean bus in, numerous white supremacists in order to participate. And we're talking about hundreds and more than likely several thousand white supremacists, KKK, alternate right supporters in order to march, demonstrate, and do whatever. Okay, all that being said, all perfectly legal. Where the illegality began was Friday night when they burst in on several churches that were located on the grounds of the University of Virginia and terrorized the people who were going to participate in the anti-protests against these people. Police had to be called Friday night in order to get these people out of here. So the mayor of the town knew what the potential was for problems. And he claims that he took all precautions in order to keep the problems down to a minimum. But I find that not to be the case. But let me back up. There is the possibility that he did, but that his orders, instructions were not followed by law enforcement. So now let me back up. The white supremacists have felt emboldened ever since Donald Trump began running for president. Ever since Donald Trump began speaking in support of them taking various actions. Ever since Donald Trump has turned a blind eye to the white supremacists that he has in offices right next to his in the White House. And I specifically am referencing Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller, both known white nationalists, i.e. white supremacists, i.e. racist. For him to have Mr. Bannon be his chief political advisor is a slap in the face to all people of good conscience, not just black people, but Hispanic and white people as well. This man is a known racist, as is the organization that, in my opinion, he still runs, which is Breitbart. All right, segue into today. violence broke out in Charlottesville, Virginia, between the white supremacists, the Klan, etc., and the people protesting against their racism. Now, if you don't believe that the police in damn near every state, county, and city are in cahoots, if not in solidarity, with the white supremacists, then you got another thing coming. I say that because when the violence first broke out, it is reported that the various state police units stood by and watched. They did nothing. It is reported that it was the white supremacists who initiated the violence, but again, it's just reported. I wasn't there, so I can't swear that they started it or not, but with my own personal bias, I choose to believe that they did. With that being said, why did the police stand by and do nothing? And I do mean stand by and do nothing. The police only took action after it was reported to the governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, about the violence that was going on, and he declared a Virginia state of emergency, which kicked in various things, i.e. the police were forced to take control of the situation. They did so without a single arrest, which can be applauded if you choose to do so. But now, there was another development. A car that was purported to be driven by a white supremacist plowed into a group of people protesting against them, and the result was 15 serious injuries and 1 death. And folks, this was planned because, again, it was reported that the car got access into where the protests were taking place, clearly was able to see the people that he was going to run into because they were carrying various articles, including flags, that were easily identified as being part of the anti-protests. Once he had done his damage initially, he put his car in reverse and at a high rate of speed backed out of the alley, and it is reported that a number of white supremacists were directing him on how to get away. Now, it wasn't immediately reported, but this man has been captured. His identity has not been released. There is no other information on him, but there was supposed to be a press conference later this evening giving details. Meanwhile, I believe it was reported that it was a woman that was killed by this white supremacist, and he will be charged with, at a minimum, vehicular manslaughter. And I believe you need to throw hate crimes right on top of it. Why do I say that? Well, our mealy-mouthed president is treating the white nationalists, the white supremacists, the same way that he is treating Vladimir Putin, with kid gloves. He has no problem uttering the words radical Islamic terrorism. But in the news conference that he had today, radical white supremacist terrorism, white nationalists, Ku Klux Klan, somehow those words were never able to escape his lips. Now, since the car was used as a weapon, and at least one person died, and that is eerily similar to various terrorism acts in France, the United Kingdom, etc., where cars were used as weapons, and the person that caused the deaths was labeled an Islamic terrorist. I do not understand how our president cannot use the same language in relation to this particular act. But in truth, he did not even mention the act of the car being used as a weapon and the death of the woman. Folks, white supremacists are firmly entrenched in the police across the country. And as I stated earlier, the Virginia State Police stood back and let the violence occur until they were ordered, I guess, by the governor to intervene. Now, again, if this were Ferguson, Missouri, those cops would have been in there faster than white on rice, beating, macing, tasering the people, and I do mean the black people that were peacefully protesting. But here, during a violent protest, some kind of way, they felt like they had to sit on their hands. Now, when I say this was planned, David Duke, former Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, felt so emboldened as to speak on public television about the coming rise of white nationalism, and he further went on to tweet to Donald Trump when he issued his mealy-mouthed tweet that it was the white nationalists, the white supremacists, that put him into the presidency, and he better remember it. Donald Trump got on TV and basically gave lip service to the entire situation. He talked about restoring the bonds of loyalty, but he has done more to tear down those bonds than anyone else in our country today, in my opinion. Now, finally, the news coverage. All three major cable news outlets televised these events. Now, from worse to okay, in monitoring Fox News, I gotta tell you, I have never seen more commercials on Fox News in my life. Though they knew they had to cover the situation, they did everything they could to minimize that coverage. There was no condemnation, no critiquing of the president's remarks. It was basically a waste of an hour watching Fox News. Now, CNN did a bit better of a job. They, in my opinion, had people on both sides, one idiot defending the president's remarks and how strong and powerful they were, and Ana Navarro basically tearing Trump a new one. And she was right on the money. And then you had moderates who basically called it the way they saw it, and again stated that Donald Trump's lackadaisical comments really didn't do justice to the office of the presidency. And the fact that instead of him postponing a signing of a Veterans Administration policy and concentrating specifically on this, Donald Trump chose to, number one, toot his own horn, downplay the events, attempt to blame both sides for what was going on. It was just ridiculous. Now, MSNBC did a bit better of a job. Again, just a bit better in my opinion. They basically just did an analysis of the situation. They basically called out Donald Trump for the fact that he waited so long to come out with any kind of a statement. And as a matter of fact, his wife came out with a statement before he did. Various Republicans around the country were condemning it. So, you know, it is what it is. This could be the linchpin of a really bad situation. The white supremacists are getting bolder and bolder. White supremacy, again, is firmly entrenched in our law enforcement and judicial system. Until we are able to root out these bastards and bitches, because obviously there are women that are involved in it as well, and if you don't believe that, hold on a second. Oh, just in case you don't believe me as far as the white supremacists Friday night illegally coming onto the UVA campus and surrounding that Confederate statue of Robert E. Lee. There's a picture for you there. Yeah, and there's another picture of your basic bearded white supremacists attacking the anti-protesters. There's a picture of your standard police officer. And, well, let me back up. That might not be a police officer, but he sure fits the profile. All right, there's one, and I've been looking for a specific picture. There's another one. There's another one. There's one. I'm looking for a specific picture of one of their women in fatigues, so bear with me. And if you didn't think their kids were being indoctrinated with this mentality at a young age, check it out. Another little tidbit for you. If you can't see it, let me make it a little bit bigger. I figured I'd let you see one of the organizers. That's the white supremacist Richard Spencer. All right, and this will be the final picture I'm going to bring up. I was looking for a picture of one of them at the Virginia rally with, I guess, her male counterparts, and she was wearing fatigues, but I can't seem to locate that particular picture at this point in time. So you get the picture, though. It's both men and women who are sprouting this bullshit. And folks, I got to be honest with you. This riot, and that's what I'll call it, of these radical white supremacist terrorists is the largest event of its kind in the past 20 years. Now, within the past 20 years, there have been others, and the loss of life has been greater. I believe there was one KKK event where 5 people lost their lives, 5 anti-protesters lost their lives. This one, thus far, has only been one, but 15 people were severely injured by that car attack, and hopefully no one else will pass. Hey, to say that it is what it is greatly undervaluing what happened here today. To say that Donald Trump is a prick and he is supporting these guys, in my opinion, is also an understatement. He couldn't have said less if he had had his lips sewn together as far as his condemnation of the white supremacist Ku Klux Klan white nationalist participants in the violence that occurred both last night and today. But to hear Trump apologists tell it, he was a super strong and very decisive